Good morning, everybody. Well, this RFP meeting was set for 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So my name, and we're going to start with a couple of things. If my screen will let me. Okay. So hopefully everybody sees the screen and it's working. So we're here today about the Classic Street Stormwater Improvement, the RFP. This is a mandatory meeting to kind of go over some of the highlights and some of the stuff that has to do with the project. Quick introduction. Layla, I will let you introduce yourself.
Great, thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. I'm Layla Amon. I am the city manager for the city of Manzanita. And that's my email address is actually wrong, but we'll correct that and send out an updated PowerPoint. But anyway, I'm really excited to be here. We're very excited about this project. I'm sure Dan will go through this, but we received state funding to build this. It's a huge deal for our city. It's a critical project for both our water system as well as creating opportunity for affordable housing. So it's really a big deal for us. And so we're really excited to see a number of folks here today and really looking forward to getting this thing rolling.
Perfect. And I'm Dan Weitzel. I'm the Public Works Director here at Manzanita. I kind of do more of the technical kind of side of it, dealing with the roads and stormwater and all that fun stuff. I got my email address correct. And as Layla said, I'll correct hers. We will be posting this PowerPoint, questions that come up and such along in the RFP documents, supporting documents that are going to be found on the website. So look for a completed package come Friday morning. So one of the things we need to do is get everybody that's in attendance to essentially signify they're here. So we ask that you send a quick email real quick to faxpw@cimanzanita.or.us. Please post your screen name, then your name and your company you are representing. I'll leave this up for a moment while you guys quickly do that. That way, like I said, we can get everybody on the roster.
Maybe we can start by just calling names since we see everybody. How about we start with Kay Shreve? Sorry for butchering your name.
Kevin Shreve of Civil West Engineering, also here with Shannon Joseph. She's joining as well, but with Civil West Engineering out of our Newport office.
Thank you, Kevin. Ralph Henderson and Shannon, you can feel free to introduce yourself as well, but we saw you wave.
Yes, this is Ralph Henderson with Mackenzie, and Matt Butts with Mackenzie is also on the line.
I'm waving.
Hello. I see some folks don't have their video on, so I want to make sure I capture everybody. I see Lori, or is that with our staff?
Lori's with our staff.
Okay. How about Matt?
Matt was with Mackenzie.
That might still be me, Matt Butts, partnering up with Ralph Henderson from Mackenzie.
Okay, got it. Sorry about that. It's hard because no one has their company identified. So have we already talked to P. Miller?
No, and I need to update my last name. I'm Paige Chadbourne. I'm with Century West Engineering.
Awesome. Thanks, Paige. I see a Tom F.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tom Farrell with Pace Engineers, and Tony Weller with Pace as well is on the call.
Okay, I see Tony.
That's Tony.
Hi, Tony. And then I think Kyle.
Yes, this is Kyle Ayers with North Coast Civil Design.
Hi, Kyle. Okay, if I didn't call your name, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, I think I got everyone. Dan, did you get all the info you needed?
Yeah, Lori's recording all that for me.
Okay, great, excellent.
So-
Thanks, Lori.
Plus, this is recorded, so we're gonna post this up, hopefully to the website, also in the documentation where you can rewatch if there's any questions you want to fall back to. So essentially some goals of this meeting, I wanted to give a quick brief history of the project and the project area, talk about goals of the project. We're gonna talk about a little bit about the water main, the walking path, the road, storm drainage. And then you'll hear me say several times, traffic calming. So that's a big piece, essentially we're looking at. So once again, some other parts is also, we'll talk quickly about the design timeline and the construction timeline. So the construction area was originally part of a golf course. Manzanita is known for its nine holes of golf. There was essentially a back nine that was planned that never happened. So essentially you can see in 1994, there was no real road where Google kind of has it marked out as Classic Street. It was a sand road where a bunch of us back in high school would run our vehicles up and down, but it was non-existent. 2000, they started scraping through the sand, pushing sand around, and essentially created a sand road all the way through. You can actually start to now see defined the areas of Classic Street, the section essentially that goes from Dorcas down to Ridge Drive. In 2005, the owner of the golf course, essentially in that era, essentially deeded the city the property of what now is Classic Street, also known as Classic Street Extension, and also known as Ted Erickson Way. But the city recognizes it as Classic Street South. So this essentially was a road that was made up of leftover materials, stuff that was taken out of Lanita Avenue, our main commercial area. And if any of you folks haven't visited Manzanita, you really should. It's a beautiful little town. So when they did this, the asphalt, the concrete, a bit of everything, all the construction debris was put into the roadway, which is classic now, and essentially compacted down. And then after that, we spent many years of putting gravel on this road, putting water down, compacting it, until about 2007. So city staff was spending too much time essentially fixing gravel roads. And so the city at that time decided to put an asphalt cap on this road. It is 2 inches thick. And so that 2 inches of asphalt has been there since 2007. So today, Classic Street since 07 to today has essentially fostered many things. It sees both light commercial traffic, dump trucks, concrete trucks, garbage trucks, stuff like that. It sees pedestrian walking on the travel lanes. It's got bicycles traveling on the same travel lanes. It's heavily used, and believe it or not, the 2 inches asphalt has been holding up. So part of the goals, though, of the project, essentially kind of starts off with, an idea. And what spurred all this, as Layla said, is the city received a large fund from the state from a direct appropriation to be able to put housing. And that housing area is going to essentially go up in the northeast corner of this picture. And right now we are looking at about, I believe, Layla, you correct me, it's 120 to 160 units that are going in.
120.
120. So with that, and you can see all the new homes and new roads that are going in there. This area is starting to become developed. It's really the only area left of Manzanita that is undeveloped. So looking forward, we started looking at what do we need? Well, we need to increase water flow. That's one of the biggest things. So we started looking at rough ideas. And so our idea, and through like some light water modeling I did myself, so I say modeling very lucratively. We essentially looked at flows and said, okay, we need to bring a main line down through and split a very large loop line that we have. And so I've essentially crayon colored on the map some coloring to help kind of illustrate what we're after. And so part of the project is to bring a water main from Lindita Avenue all the way down to Nakarni City Road. Another optional thing is, as we go through design and budget and stuff like that, as we see where we're falling, is to put another line that would then parallel Nakarni City Road to bypass another loop. The walking path is something that is one of the big pluses to this. Along the east side of Classic Street from Dorcas Lane all the way to Nakarni City, essentially Road, the property owners that are the Classic Cottages and Encore Investments, I believe it is, have talked to us about allowing for an easement, essentially to put a walking path along the east side of the road. It still has some challenges with topography and such, and I got some photos we'll look at later on in the slideshow. But the concept is to bring the walking path from Kearney City Road all the way to Lanita Avenue, which is our main heart of the city, the road that goes all the way to the beach. This project, though, as we do it, will require additional improvements. The road, obviously, right now is 20 feet. This is a collector street, so we want to get the width up to the 22 feet to meet our transportation safety plan that was completed just about a year and a half ago. Along with any course road work we do, we want to put storm in. There are some already developed features, kind of where the dash lines, where the line goes like up in the northwest corner there. You'll notice it's a dash line versus a solid green, because there is some infrastructure that is in place that might be able to facilitate the future. Road work. So the road between Lanita Avenue and Dorcas in that northwest section is already paved. It's starting to see some gatoring because of its age. The section from Dorcas down to Ridge Drive was a big unknown to us. And so one of the preliminary things we did was we went out and got Carlson Testing, which has a subdivision that's an geotechnical firm. And they did core drills along Classic Street and found that the gravel layer underneath the asphalt was anywhere from 1.5 feet to 2 feet. So that report will also be issued into the updated RFP supporting documents when we put the PowerPoint presentation in. With the development, there was also some work done between essentially what's called Highlands Drive and Ridge Drive. So once again, these might be some design elements that are already in place and might be reusable. So is there, up to this point, I stop at usually when I do PowerPoints, I'll stop and ask if there's any questions, kind of where we are. So if anybody has something, feel free to ask it.
And just real quick, before you do, a logistic point, we had a couple of people that were stuck in the waiting room that showed up late. And since this is a mandatory meeting, I want to make sure we're accounting for everyone here. So throughout the presentation, if I could just ask you to add your company and spell your name out on your Zoom, then we'll make sure that we have everyone here. So sorry for the interruption, but I do want to make sure that the 3 folks that were stuck in limbo are accounted for. Thanks.
Thank you. I didn't even see them as I've been on the PowerPoint side of it. So once again, one of the major things I'll keep bringing this up, is because it is a long road, is the traffic calming. Classic Street is notable in its length compared to other streets, and safety is one of the major concerns with this project. So calming strategies will be highly sought after by staff and by the general public on this project. So, sorry. So kind of our project now timeline. The schedule for the RFP was listed in the RFP, but I'm throwing it up there just in case there are any questions or concerns. We're shooting for design completed by the end of December, and we're hoping to be able to go to bid and contract and construction start in January 2025 and conclude the project with punch lists and everything finished out by November. We typically find with our projects here on the coast, winter timelines kind of work better, get a better selection of contractors, because we can get all the earthwork done and everything done all the way up to spring, then pavement can go down. This is starting a design is a little bit later than we typically like to have our designs going, but because this project essentially wasn't, I'll be honest with you, wasn't really extremely planned for in the very beginning. It has been a whirlwind when the state showed up and said, hey, what do we need to do to help you, and gave us 2.7 million appropriation. That makes any project then move super fast. So a couple of things that, like I said, I want to make sure that you guys took note in the RFP, and just highlight on a couple of things that we are really looking for. Once again, is traffic calming strategies, city characteristics. We have our traffic safety our TSP, which designates what we need to have, but there are characteristics that you can, put into concepts and such that meet the city characteristics. So if you have a chance, I recommend still doing an on-site. We'll be doing an on-site visit tomorrow for those that can attend. But it's really take a look at town. Manzanita is I wouldn't say it is a different town, but has a lot of good characteristics to it, and that's what we like to see. The other thing I wanted to take note on it is, the on-site inspections. So there in the RFP, there is a note in there about required on-site inspection and being on-site for these things. So make sure you pay attention to that in the RFP. And then topographic constraints. There are some constraints the way the current right-of-way and such is there, with where the road is, essentially the bench it sits on. So those are some things to make sure you take in consideration. We'll go into some photos that show essentially classic as kind of a walkthrough. So because I already received a couple of comments going, well, Dan, Classic Street is not on Google Street View. No, it is not. Most of Manzanita is not. So we'll kind of have some photos to do a light walkthrough on it. Any questions thus far?
Yes, I've got one question. The topographic constraints, is there going to be a survey provided, or does the survey need to be included within the project team?
Nope. There'll be essentially a survey, a full complete survey will be in the folder Friday, along with the geotechnical report. So we're grouping everything in there all at once. After this survey goes in, it'll be up to the design team to be able to contract with their own survey in-house or contract with another survey company to take care of surveying for the project. So the survey is just going to give you a preliminary topographic and things like that. All right. So kind of moving along, this is the intersection of Nakarni City Road and Classic Street looking north. You'll see at the very top there, the road kind of moves to the right. But originally this road went up and to the left as the primary road. They added a substreet that was known as Mulligan Lane and kind of reconfigured this intersection. I would note, there is existing water main that runs up the left-hand side and then veers to the left, and then along the right-hand side, there essentially right at the top, it crosses at the top, is a 8-inch PVC main that goes off. And that is the newer main that's noted in the one picture of my crayons, as the dash line. So it might be infrastructure we'll be able to tie in and use. This is just below what's called the Highlands intersection, looking south back towards that intersection we were just looking at. You once again, you'll see kind of that water main I was talking about that's, usable infrastructure that's fairly new. You can see the blue markings on the road, I'm hoping. And then here we have our city typical concrete gutter. So the Manzanita uses an 18-inch gutter that has about an inch and a half to 2-inch depression in the middle. And essentially it collects water, then moves it to catch basins along the route. This is on Classic looking north. We're just south of the Highlands intersection. So you can kind of see the road opening gets a little bit narrow. There's some hillside and embankment. Essentially what you're looking at is from the existing asphalt, we would have to be going over roughly about 10 feet to get our walking path in. So it will require some geotechnical work and design work. And I don't know, I wouldn't say it might need or may not need maybe a little bit of architectural landscaping work as well. So the new utilities that are in there that run from Ridge Drive up to Highlands here, they come up. There's a T that's already been planted in the ground that essentially turns and goes down Highlands, but it is open to the north. So this is just north of the Highlands intersection, looking north. Once again, the part of this photo is to be able to see the topographical constraints. There are houses that run along the upper right-hand ridge. And then on the left-hand side, there is some shoulder there, but it does drop off fairly fast into essentially the golf course area. There's a future motel going in down there. But you'll also note the road right in here is crowned. Most of our roads, if you looked at our RFP package, you'll notice they typically are a 2% grade to one side, and then we run a concrete gutter down that side that drains. Looking essentially south back towards Highlands intersection. The edge of asphalt in this photo is fairly close to the eastern property line. So there's not a lot of room to work with here, but there's in this area especially, there's quite a bit of room to the west to add essentially the 2 additional feet that would be needed to make this a 22-foot travel lane. As we move along, this is the south edge of the Classic Cottages area. There's a water main that comes down off of the road, the little narrow road to the right, which is private. That line would be tied into the new water main that would run through. There, along the right side, you can see once again the need for probably some retaining wall and some geotechnical work and some, of course, vegetation replanting. So once again, we've been in conversations with these owners about a 10-foot easement. Within this easement is where we are projecting of placing the water main. So essentially we would have walking path with a water main underneath. The water main would be to meet our city essentially standards of building would be high density polyethylene. So a little bit future design would probably help decide if the line is going to be essentially a 12-inch with a 10-inch inside diameter, or if it would have to be or if a 10-inch itself would be sufficient. You'll notice on the left-hand side, there's the gravel shoulder, and then you can see it taper off into the little gully to the left. So here is looking back towards where we're just at. This is near the intersection of Dorcas looking south. Once again, this edge of asphalt is pretty close to where essentially would be the eastern property line, with quite a bit of room to work on the westerly side, the right side there. Some of the early concept is to be able to use some of this retaining wall still that's existing. That'll, may or may not be part of a design. This is essentially the intersection of Dorcas looking north to Lanita Avenue. The little white speckle up there of a car is essentially where Lanita Avenue is. In this intersection, as we continue the water main to the north, the walking path to the north, and a storm line would be required to essentially tie into a daylighted storm system that's near the intersection to bring it down to this intersection. So we would probably end up with essentially a storm line and a water main pretty close to each other, running parallel down or over top of each other, coming down to this intersection. The road base underneath in here seems to be pretty well solid. There's some, like I said, some gatoring of the road, just because that wear section has been there for quite some time. The concrete gutter on the right-hand side is figured to be removed, but the concrete work on the left side may or may not be not be used in the design in the future. Let me bounce one more here. So looking south from that intersection, classic or Dorcas intersection here, Dorcas Lane was redone last year. There is an 18-inch storm line that runs up to the intersection, is capped off, along with an 8-inch HDPE main that would be tied into the new main heading north and south. The intersection we stopped at because of funding reasons, and essentially it was a funding reason, and we wanted to redo this intersection as part of a classic street design. And so with the funding, that essentially set all that in motion to be tore up. So we just left it in its state. That intersection looking north into Classic Cottages, you can see in here, you notice on the right-hand side, kind of where Classic comes in, but you kind of notice on the left side where it's going back out. They're pretty well offset, and part of the idea is we want to do is try to align those a little better. It won't be perfect, but they're definitely offset more, and kind of creates a bit of a safety concern. So there'll be some design thought put into that intersection. So essentially, this is essentially a quick rundown of the project and stuff. At this point, I want to open it up to questions then and such. No questions? Got one hand raised. Travis, go ahead and ask your question, bud.
You bet. I just a logistical thing. Layla asked that we get our name, signed in. Am I supposed to do that on the Zoom somewhere,
If
or just an email?
Let me jump back to those that missed it. So first, so we have it on voice record. If you can just give your name and the company you're
Sure.
associated.
Okay, Travis Tormanen, Windsor Engineers.
All right. So as a backup plan, because I'm a person of backups, if you want to shoot a quick email to the faxpw at cimanzanita.or.us, put on your screen name and then the company you're associated with and your name.
Did you say fax PW?
Yep.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
And that's for anybody that came in that happened to make it in a little bit late. So once again, city's super excited about this project. The state appropriation funds are a huge shot in the arm for us. So we're looking forward to this. We're looking forward to working with the team on it. So if there's not any other questions we can answer. Oh, Shannon?
Hey, so I saw some renderings in there. Is there some design concepts that you've already gone through as a city in the beginning?
No, the only kind of conceptuals you'll see is in our TSP.
Okay.
Which essentially some of that is has to be a little bit malleable, giving constraints of geographics and different pieces, but that's what our goal is to shoot towards. And that lays out essentially walking path widths and travel lane widths.
Got it. I'm stoked about this project. My parents live in Pine Ridge, so
Aha.
this would be great.
Yeah, our city manager, I have to say, she's been working real hard to get pathways and different things put in to be able to connect our whole community. So, and this is one monstrous piece to it. No other questions? Well, with that being said, I thank everybody for attending. We'll conclude this meeting, and then I don't know how many folks will make it out, but we hope to see you tomorrow at the walkthrough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks,
Thanks,
Layla.
everyone.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Lila.